There we go. Start. There we go. Start. It's 7 p.m. and it's Tuesday night. I got my laptop on. And I said, oh yeah. I got a few joints to roll. And my lunch is on. Got my headphones on and I'm closing the door. Don't disturb me. It's time to stand up tall and say some things about the shitty world that we're living in. Boys at Raconteurs News. I say raconteurs, raconteurs, say raconteurs, raconteurs. I say raconteurs news, raconteurs news, raconteurs news. Raconteurs News, Raconteurs News, oh yeah. And good evening. Thanks to Heath for that Christmas intro. We are getting closer and closer to the big C word. It's one that shall be mentioned in this house, but you can't really get away from it. Welcome to Raconteurs News. It's the 10th of December 2018, and I was reminded yesterday by my wife that Saturday was actually the 3rd anniversary of me having a heart attack. So a lot of stuff's gone off since then, but that was the 3rd anniversary. So it was December 8th, 2015, I had a heart attack. So I'm still around, I'm still here, I'm still going strong, and we all will be going strong because, well, nothing can stop us. It's Raconteurs News. We're living in a world where we have we have advertisements on TV that talk about bothersome vaginas. We are living in a world where for Christmas, we are told to buy somebody that we love something called VI poo, so that whenever they go to a public toilet, they can spray that in the bowl, and that will give them a nice fresh smell. They don't have to smell other people's shit. Yeah, we didn't think you wanted to smell other people's shit, so I bought you some VI poo for Christmas. And of course, we're living in a world where it's going to soon be illegal to say he or she. I mean, it's crazy. It's Monday night. It's Raconteurs News. I've got Paul Webster with me as usual. Paul, how are you doing, mate?
I'm good, Jason. Trying to keep my finger on the pulse of everything that's going on, because it's the last few weeks has just been bonkers, and today's no exception. It's you can't just look at one thing anymore. The live feeds that I've been seeing coming from London throughout the day from different people who are down there, they're all doing different things. They're all pointing at things from different angles. It's encouraging. It really is encouraging for me, but I'm a bit skeptical, Jason. You know, that these high-vis vests, somebody's making a killing on eBay somewhere, but these high-vis vests are now expanding. At what point do they realise that this organic movement is now going to overtake everybody? Shall we co-opt it, or shall we do something, or has it already been done? That's, you know, it's good. It's encouraging to see, because I can see people are really pissed off with things, Jason, because we've said it so many times. How much more can you extract from these people before they have to rise up? And the problem is, you've seen it in France with the tanks that now Macron's put in. He's even put mercenaries on the streets. So if it's coming to that in France, that's Europe. May's doing her best to make us stay in there, despite everybody said, "Hey, we want out." What do you mean? What are you talking about? A deal? We didn't say a deal. We said, do we want to stay in or out? We said out. That's it. But you see how everything's coming together. I mean, but I'm a Celebrity was on last night, and oh, please, Jason, don't tell me who won, because I still don't know.
I would tell you, but I'm not going to. But it's football related anyway, so I think from that you'll probably
So I know.
Work it out, but I only know because this morning I happened to put on the local, rubbish morning news shows, and they got Jamie Redknapp and all sorts of different people on there as well, who were all talking about. I mean, they're just talking about utter nonsense. But Europe at the moment, it's a bit of a tinderbox, isn't it? But you wouldn't think that if you looked at the BBC or Sky or anything, would you?
Jason, I went for my haircut last week, and
shut up.
I did. I've got a bit of hair get cut, but I said to the barber, I said, "Well, you've seen what's happened in France." No. What? Do you not watch television? She said, "Oh yeah, I love watching TV." You've not seen on television what's going on in France. And when I told her, she went, "No, get away. We'd all hear about that, wouldn't we?" When I said, "Do you know what? I'm watching live feeds. I'm watching live feeds, so something's happening over there."
Yeah, of course it is. And it's a subject that we're going to get into with our guest this evening. Our guest is a returning guest. He was here in April. I think you booked him, Webby, and myself and Andy had to conduct the interview because you've got work commitments and something like that. Something popped up and you couldn't come along. So, so you missed out on that. So I want you to introduce our guest for this evening, and we can kick off, because from what we were talking about prior to the show going live, it looks like it's going to be quite an interesting one tonight.
Yeah, well, again, he's been introduced before. He doesn't need an introduction. He's quite well known throughout what he refers to as the bowel movement, not the truth movement. But the work that he put out on about 9/11 was one of two of the films that came into my vision and just highlighted a load of questions. There was no, hey, this happened, that happened, this happened. It was, hey, what happened? Does this feel right? All that kind of stuff that he put together. And as our guest Dave VonKleist will tell you, that because of that, nobody could stick anything to him. So without further ado, Dave, please give us a bit of an update of where we're up to with you, lad.
Dave, sorry, you're going to need to unmute your microphone. I've muted it, I'm afraid, and I don't seem to be able to unmute it.
Will you stop doing this?
Microphone for me. It should be somewhere in there. There we go.
There we go. How are you guys doing?
We're great over here, Dave. We're great. I mean, the world is absolutely bonkers, but we're doing great.
All I can do is shake my head, and the whole world is being manipulated right now. And I think this has been coming on for the past 20 years because so many people are waking up, not just to 9/11, but they're waking up to all of the corruption in our country, in your country, in the EU, everywhere. It's everywhere.
It's all interrelated as well.
It absolutely is. And the thing is, though, the powers that be are very aware of this, which is exactly why for the past several years, they've been really ratcheting up the division. Now, we all know that the mainstream media, the press, all the newspapers, magazines, TV, radio, they're all basically controlled. And you were just talking about the yellow vests. Here in the States, there is barely even a mention of what's going on in Europe or in the UK. They're not even talking about this.
Wow.
And I'm afraid that what's happening here is that, well, I'm not afraid. I'm glad to see that the world itself is finally waking up to this. And like I said, the powers that be are very aware of this, which is why they've been really pushing this division thing. They're really pushing, Christians against Muslims, against Jews, against whites, against blacks, against Arabs, against this. Everybody has to be against somebody. And this is why we're seeing this, on an unprecedented scale, creating the division. And people, unfortunately, are being so stupid that they're going for it.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I said, the liberal broadcasters are pointing their fingers at the conservatives and calling them Nazis and Trump-tards. And the conservative broadcasters are pointing the fingers at the liberal idiots, Hillary idiots, and the snowflakes. I'm sitting here saying, wait a second. All you guys over here, all the red guys over here, all the blue guys over here, you can make the same argument in the UK. Okay? Let me ask you guys some real basic questions. Do you like war? No. Do you like war? No. Okay, good. There's something in common. Okay. Do you like Big Pharma? No. Do you? No. Do you like the corporate Borg? No. No. Do you like Monsanto? No. No. Do you like the Federal Reserve and central banks? No. No. Well, why are we arguing about whether or not Trump was boinking Stormy Daniels 13 years ago?
Exactly.
The point is that we have so many more important issues to be arguing about rather than, all this other crap that they're throwing at us, this politically correct movement, pissing people off, getting people all upset about trivial, unimportant stuff. Yes, Trump is an ass. He's a crude, vile, corrupt individual. But he's just the symptom.
Yeah.
He's not the disease. The symptom is the corruption that we've got in all of our political systems, not just here in the States, not just in the UK, but permeated the entire Western world.
Yes.
The rest of the world is really pissed off at us and at you guys, because the US and the UK has been manufacturing and selling weapons to everybody who's got the money.
Well, we fund all that. We fund all that. That's how this.
Yeah. So what do? We bomb the snake snot out of all these Middle Eastern countries, create unlivable conditions. We've destroyed their infrastructure. They have no place to go. And you know what? They hate you. They hate me.
And then from that, they create, Dave, they create migration, and they come into the countries that they hate, that they actually say, we're going to breed you people out of this place.
Yep.
This is what some people are saying. That's nothing to do with racism. You know what I mean? When you see a plan that is being pushed from every facet, and I'm interested to skip back to what you were talking about, the political correctness, that the last 30 years it's started to creep, but the last 20 it's been ramped. And I think 9/11 was probably the major ramp in there, where they could throw a load of stuff in all at once that people would completely miss, and it all get passed through Congress and that, because people are focusing on 2 buildings and people dying. So, but you see it now, Dave. I mean, you've got open calls for being openly communist in college campuses all across the US. What is it? It's got to be something systematic through that system that is now promoting the communist attributes, and some people seem to be buying it. Fortunately, people like yourself and a lot of other friends I've got over in the States, this doesn't bite into them. But you see, it seems like there's an ignorant majority like what we have in this country and in every other country, I presume. So. But it's like, when I've always used the term that when America sneezes, about 8 to 10 years later, we're going to catch the cold, because the Americans really pushed the trends for everything. They've done it for as long as I've been alive anyway, because when I was a kid, I wanted to go and live in America. I wanted to be a cop in America because I could get a gun and get bad guys and be a hero. And then all of a sudden you start to realize, wow, it's not just quite like that.
It's not quite like that at all. No, you bring up some good points, but to finish up what I was trying to say is that the powers that be are brilliantly pushing that PC issue. And, for another example, Palestine. Everybody knows that what Israel is doing is wrong. It is absolutely wrong. And it's sort of like this attitude, okay, well, we Jews were persecuted in the Holocaust, and so now we get to do exactly that to everybody else forever and ever and ever, because we are Israel. We are Jews, And a lot of Jewish folks here are very upset with Israel's policy.
Yeah, they are,
okay? Yeah. And of course, Israel has been absolutely brilliant, saying, okay, well, if you don't agree with us, then you're anti-Semitic, which has nothing to do with it. I mean, George W. Bush liked to claim that he was a good Christian, and I despised the man for what he did. But does that mean that I hate Christians? No. All right. If I'm pissed off at Bibi Netanyahu and what he's doing over there in Israel, and I criticize Israel's policy, that doesn't make me an anti-Semite or a Jew hater. What I would like to see is all of the Jews that are out there that know that this is wrong should be standing up and making their voices heard.
Yeah.
But, you know, they just don't want to do that. They like, you know, so it's just a mess. And that's just one example of how, you know, everybody's being manipulated.
Yes,
again, you mentioned this whole thing about the Muslim movement. Is it a religious movement or is it a political movement? If it's a political movement, then they will try to push their agenda, their traditions, their Sharia law.
It's definitely being politicized. Definitely.
Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. And if that's the case, and they want to try to say, okay, well, you're discriminating against us because we want Sharia law, or we want this, or we want that. I'm sorry. But if you're leaving your country and you're coming into the UK or you're going into the US and you want to join us and everything, fine. You have to go by our laws. You can't go in here and take over. You can't go, you know, you can't do that.
No, well, I said, Dave, on another show, I know many, many Muslims. Every Muslim that I've spoken to about this, they say to me, not my words, their words, our families came to this country to get away from Sharia law. And they say if they're coming here and they want Sharia law, they should fuck off, and that's their words, fuck off back to where they've come from. That's the Muslims that I speak to on a daily basis. So there is no racism in here because people can see through it. I think what it gets to is there's so much going on and there's so much confusion about everything because it is all interlinked. You're stuck with that rat race thing where people are trying to pay, you know, I could bring the bills of exchange in here, but I won't. But all this debt that you can't pay, Dave, people don't understand how this economy works. And they're trapped in that rat race. And you know, I mean, you've been in that rat race, I've been in that rat race. And it's only when trauma comes or something comes to punch you in the face and kick you in the balls that you actually go, whoa, I need to reassess here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's just it. See, you mentioned that people don't want to accept what's going on because they have to change their paradigm of the world, their schema of the world, you know. So that's when cognitive dissonance kicks in. Definitely. You know, because, and I told you before we went on the air that, you know, I'm not here to make any friends. You know, as far as anybody out there listening, and I don't care if it's in the States, you're Republican and Democrat, I'm not quite sure, you know, in England, you've got your parties. What if everybody said, that's it, I'm done with this shit show, this circus that we call politics. It's a revolving door of one criminal to another criminal to another criminal. They get into an office, they hold it for several years, and they pass the baton to somebody else, and then they're gone. You never hear from them again.
Yes.
Bottom line here is, if you're sick of this circus, I suggest every Democrat and every Republican unregister. Go to your town hall and say, I am no longer going to be part of the Democratic Party. I'm no longer part of the Republican Party. I'm going to be independent. I'm leaving this entire system. If everybody did that, of course, most people won't, because they're so stuck in their red or blue world, and they can't help but point the finger the other way rather than realize that they're part of the problem. So if you're a Democrat, a diehard Democrat, you're an asshole. And if you're a diehard Republican, you're an asshole too. So the point is that, you know, if you keep supporting we keep hearing the same thing, the lesser of two evils, the lesser of two evils.
Exactly.
This crap has been going on for a century. And we keep on going for it. Oh, I got screwed by the Republicans, so I'm going to vote Democrat. So you vote Democrat. I got screwed by the Democrats, so I'm going to vote Republican. So and this goes on and on and on, and it never stops because people are stuck in the cage.
You know, 30 years ago, you had Bill Hicks saying, the puppet on my right is to my liking, well, I like the puppet on the left. And they're both the same puppeteer. You know, as you said, we know this. You know, I speak to people who still vote Labour because my dad did. That's not good enough. It is not good enough anymore. We've got to grow up and take responsibility. I've been saying this, and I've had a few debates today with people. And says people have got to grow up, because over the stuff that I work in, Dave, which is financials and stuff, that you've got people charging other people who are already in the ship. They're charging people for free information instead of saying, hey, go and look over here. You can't keep doing stuff for people. The reason we're in this mess is because we give all our power away to people who don't have our interest at heart. So we have to switch on, get on the ball, and take control of this. Like you said, what happens if we all just went, that's enough? That's it. There is no big army. There is no big bombs. There's nothing, because you've got the police. Even reports in France of the police. I know the paramedics and ambulance are taking their uniforms off, they're taking their helmets off, because they know they're all in the same.
Right.
That is taking responsibility. Now, if with all the rubbish I grew up with about, you hear about the French, or, they just invited the Germans in and all this kind of stuff. If we have to having some balls after all the stuff that people would put on the French, that says a lot about the apathy, what people are willing to sit in. It's amazing.
Well, people don't want to, they don't want to face reality in many cases. And like, okay, here in the States, I believe it's 53% of our federal budget goes to support the military industrial complex, and all of the contractors and all the boys that got their lobby money in so they could get their bids in on their no bid contract. I mean, whatever. Bottom line here is that everybody that I know is against war. And we're spending 53% of our federal budget to kill people and blow shit up. And now this is what our world resources are being used for. This is the whole direction that not just the United States is involved with, but the UK and many other countries. The world leaders understand that the only way that they can remain in power is to keep the people off balance, scared, angry, and distracted. And the bottom line, as long as the people are confused and distracted and all that, then these bad boys can continue to manipulate the world situation. They can arm these people, sell guns over here, instigate conflict here, and just keep it, like Kissinger said, perpetual war for perpetual peace. This is a machine. This is a machine that creates war, kills people, blows stuff up, and then they get their buddies to go in there and contract to rebuild. Yeah. And they rebuild it, and then they blow it up again. We're destroying the world resources, literally destroying the world. Yeah. We're taking all of our minerals and all of our resources. We're making weapons of war. We're blowing stuff up, and it's insane.
Dave, you just explained it so simply, right? That this is the end of the world. Do you understand that might affect your life? Yet people are watching I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, which is a reality TV show over here. Now, how can... It's so simple. It's all out in the open. You talking about the military industrial complex. You're talking about, look at the money that you give to Israel every day, every year, and then we are funding Saudi Arabia to do what they're doing in Yemen. People know that, Dave. People know it. Yet before the show, we touched on the mind control. There's perfect example of cognitive dissonance and mind control, that somebody can see a child starving to death and say, oh, well, it's not my country. But you're funding that. You're funding that.
Or they just turn the channel and watch a football game. I mean, you just ignore it. It doesn't exist.
And you think, how did we get to that point? And because I'll be honest with you, like I said, until I always knew about conspiracies, 9/11, straight from, when I saw the second plane, I went, this isn't right, this, straight off. So I've always known that, but it's when the world comes to you and physically takes everything materially that your parents and you've worked for, strips you bare and says, we're taking this, and you've read all their law and legislation, and you go, oh, but you can't. Why have I got armed police around me? I'm only saying you can't do this. In your law, you can't do this. That really strips you bare, Dave. And then it's almost like going back to the Star Wars thing, where you must unlearn what you have learned. And that you have to, because me and you, we've danced through life, and we've gone out, we've had all these great times and football and all this, and then all of a sudden it becomes real. And then all of a sudden, you don't get invited to parties anymore, Dave, because you stood in the corner telling people about mortgages.
Right.
Yeah, that might be you. Listen, I just want to let everybody know you're listening to Raconteurs News. Our guest, Dave von Kleist. It is 7:05 on a Monday evening, and it's Raconteurs News. I wanted to say, what you were saying there, Dave. I just wanted to make the point that what you were saying there is that we've got all these countries that we're bombing the shit. Either we're directly bombing the shit out of, or we're bombing them by proxy, such as Yemen, Saudi Arabia. Sorry, not Saudi Arabia. Yemen, Syria, or Libya got it.
Afghanistan, yeah.
Had it and everything. But the thing is, as well, is that I don't know what it's like there in the States, and I'd be interested to know what you do. I don't know if you watch TV very much, but since I've been sort of recouping, I've been watching more and more television, so I've had a lot more time on my hands, and I've noticed that not only now are we paying for these countries or supporting the people that are bombing these countries and selling them arms and stuff like that, they are now on the TV, there are commercials that are asking for help for these people in these countries that we're bombing. So there's one particular one on at the moment that's saying, can you spare £3 a month for Yemen, or for the children of Yemen? Yet we're selling the bombs to Saudi Arabia to be able to inflict that on Yemen. And the same with Syria as well. There were another one on today. Syrian.
Okay, let me ask you, how much does it cost to build one of those bombs? How much does it cost for one of those drones? And if whatever the answer is, how many people could be fed with that much money? Okay, so the American people, the British people are all paying their taxes into their budget so they can have this huge military and all this other stuff. So we go over there, like you pointed out, we're bombing the snake snout out of these countries, and then say, oh, well, now we have to rebuild and we want your money to do it. Wait a second. We gave you tons, billions, trillions of dollars, and what did you do with it? You went over and you destroyed stuff, blew it up, and killed people, and now you want more money so we can rebuild it? This is insanity. This is absolute insanity. And until America and the entire Western world finally comes to grips with the idea that their governments are not their friends. The United States government is corrupt. The UK government is corrupt, and they're not taking care of their people. They are lining their pockets, and they're selling their weapons, and they're doing everything that they can to enrich themselves so that they are all comfortable and all that. I mean, this is not what public service is all about. Common sense. I'm going to throw some common sense at you. They all like to call themselves civil servants, right? Okay, we work for the public. We're public servants, right? Okay. Well, why is it that they live in the mansions and they have all the money? I mean, the governor lives in a governor's mansion. Wait a second. Since when do the public servants, the servants, live in the mansion and the people don't? Wait a second. There's something really screwed up here. How can we justify in our mind that our leaders, and in your case, you've got the royal family, what the hell do they need all the gold and all that lavish stuff? I think people that live a lavish, extravagant lifestyle should be shunned. They should be ashamed of themselves. Solid gold toilet seats. I mean, it boggles my mind to think that the people support this. They don't understand it, you know.
To think that people have sank to such a sick level that a gold toilet seat is the necessity. You know, they're not like us. They don't think like us. We are just tools to what they use. But going back to what we were talking about with governments, it's all about business, Dave. Everything's been corporatized. So they're looking at balance sheets. They don't see people. They don't see lives. They don't see children. They see balance sheets. And they know that if they tick a couple of boxes, well, look at that. We've saved 5 billion. Yeah, you've just killed 17,000 people, though, just by ticking the box. But they're putting the psychopaths, or the sociopaths have risen to those positions where they can do that completely conscious free and crack on. And do you know what? Some of them will probably is some of the best parents, loving wise, to their own children. But it's associate. I mean, you've heard it from Aaron Russo told a story about Nick Rockefeller where he said, "What is it to you? What is it to you about all these people? They're nothing to do with you. They're not your family or your friends. Look after your family, your friends. No, it doesn't matter about them." That is straight from the words of the Rockefellers who are linked in. You know, one of the linchpins, along with everything else that comes in with this, and people can understand bits of it, Dave, but they just don't see how big that picture is linked. You know, it's a vast picture, and I think somebody once said that if the conspiracy could be so big that nobody would ever believe it.
Well, that's so true. That really is. This is why, you know, this mindset, some people say, oh, our government would never do that. You know, I mean, they dismiss all this stuff. No, the government will do any and everything it can to maintain its power and maintain its position and protect its wealth. That's it. That's all they're in it for. And
Dave, I'd just like to impart, when I first came across all this stuff around about 2005, 2006, but I remember I was a nightclub DJ and I'd be worked till 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd come home and you can't sleep, and I would watch In Plain Sight. When I first found In Plain Sight, I would watch it every single night. I'd sit and have a joint, and I'd say. I'd watch it every single night. Now, one particular night, I was on my way home, and I went to a gas station, and I went in, and I went, whether I was buying cigarettes or something, and you know, I got all this stuff in my mind that I've been watching, and I said to the guy behind the counter, I said, by the way, did you know that 9/11 it weren't Muslims? I said it were an inside job, whatever. It came from America, and just what you were just saying. Then he said to me, "I can't see them doing that to their own people."
Yeah. See, that's just it. You know, if you've been raised and weaned on a steady diet of misinformation, disinformation, and lies, then common sense will tell you that your opinion based on that misinformation is just an extension of the lie.
Yeah.
And as Mark Twain said, he said, it's always easier to fool somebody than it is to convince someone that they've been fooled.
Correct.
You know, and so when you challenge somebody to re-examine their schema of the world or what they think is reality, if they have to adjust or demolish a certain structure of belief, they don't want to do that. It's too much trouble. And you know, there's always a domino effect, because if you find out that you've been lied to about this, then you have to ask the question, was I lied to about this? Was I lied to about that? And like, okay, right now there's a real movement right now. People are wanting to take another look at what happened in World War II. Now, we know we were lied to about the War of 1812. We were lied to about the Lusitania. We were lied to about Pearl Harbor. We were lied to about Vietnam. We were lied to about Korea. We were lied to about every single conflict. Oh, but you know what? The Holocaust is real. Everything they told us about the Holocaust is true.
It's by law, that Dave. That's by law.
Yeah. And they're passing laws now where you can't even criticize Israel.
No, you can't. If you're in Europe, Dave, and you criticize, if you mention the Holocaust, you'd be classed as a Holocaust denier, and you go into jail. They've just incarcerated Ursula Haberback again.
Yeah, I know.
Because of this. And do you know what? It's exactly what you did. That's the scary part of it. She hasn't accused or said anything that has happened other than, I have questions. That's what you said about 9/11. You had questions. What if somebody one day says it's illegal to mention 9/11? and then they come for you to try and make an example of that. Is there any difference? There's not, is there? It's
No.
where this dictatorship ends. And we've done this road so many times. We've gone down this road through history, and we're going to repeat it. I'm not doing this again. But people need to just take that responsibility.
Well, when they make it illegal to criticize or boycott, it's time to criticize and boycott. Simple as that.
Definitely. I mean, I have seen there has been a bit of criticism of boycotting of Israel, and it's looking like it has had some effect, but they just steamroll over it. It's almost like they're just going to do what they're going to do. They can, it's like everybody can see what they're doing, so they're just going to go, well, we'll just do it anyway. See what we get away with. It's as if they've just took everything off now and said, this is what we're doing. What are you going to do about it? And that's where it's at. What are the people going to do about it?
Well, that's why I was saying, drastic times call for drastic measures. And sometimes, you've heard the term, think outside the box. I say think outside the cage. A box is a whole lot easier to break out of than a cage. And we are in a situation where here in the West, we have a cage of mental restrictions. You can't think certain ways, and and these are self-imposed.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people, like I said, the cognitive dissonance, the denial, et cetera, and that's what keeps people enslaved.
It's like being in the cage with the door open. The door's open. You're in the cage, you could leave.
Exactly, and this is why I'm telling folks, look, I don't care if you're a Republican or if you're a Democrat, everybody is sick of this show.
Yeah.
And so if you support either one of those parties, if you've got a Labor Party, a Tory party, I don't care what kind of party, if you support a party, then you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. I mean, it's time now to really start stepping outside of your comfort zone, because time is short. We don't have much time to straighten this shit out.
Yeah,
the globalists, they know exactly what they're doing, and they're going to play both ends against the middle. And so everybody's distracted. They're not looking at the real problems, which is why I said, hey, Republicans, Democrats, do you like Monsanto? Do you like the Federal Reserve? Do you like the IRS? Do you like chemtrails, contrails? Do you like microchips? All of these are very important issues that need to be addressed, and we should all stand together and fight them.
And when you put all those together on a piece of paper, Dave, it looks, oh, hey, that doesn't look a really good future, that. And you've only just scratched the surface there. There's a hell of a lot of other stuff that they're getting up to and what they've been up to manipulate us all into this position.
Yeah.
As you said, to convince somebody that they've been fooled their entire life, it's easier to fool them. It's easier to fool them, to convince them that they have been. It's amazing.
Well, it's ego and pride play an awful large part in this. People, like we were just saying, they don't like to admit that they've been fooled because it's a blow to their ego and their pride. And this is, again, ego and pride and fear are all being played and manipulated brilliantly by the mainstream media. And they know people's nature. They know that people, like I said, don't like to admit that they're wrong about something. But for me, I see being wrong as an opportunity for growth.
To learn,
It's a good thing to be wrong once in a while. You have an aha moment. There are two kinds of people in this world. There are people that go through their lives with a question mark over their head, and there are other people that have an exclamation point over their head. The people with the exclamation point know. Exclamation point. I know. And their doors of information are closed because they know. They don't need any more information. Yeah. They have an exclamation point. I know what I know. Now, the other people that have a question mark, they're not sure. They're asking the question. What is it that I don't know? Those are the smart people. The smart people ask the questions, and the smart people are willing to admit that they're wrong and take a step farther down their road of knowledge.
Yeah.
But because of ego and pride, too many people don't want to admit that they might have been wrong. Oh gosh, maybe I was wrong supporting the Republicans, or maybe I was wrong supporting the Democrats. Maybe there really is some truth in that thing, you know, the lesser of two evils. Maybe I should admit to myself that I've been fooled, and I'm supporting an organization that is doing everything it can to destroy my life. You know, I mean, that's basically what it is. And people have got to step out of their comfort zones and do something drastic. You know, I mean, I don't want to see violent revolution. I don't want to see violent revolution all over the world. The powers that be do. Ordo ab chaos. They want the chaos. They want the
prepared for.
They want everything get torn apart so they can rip it, so they can rebuild it in their own way. And I'm sorry, it can't happen that way. So I applaud all the yellow vests that are out there. I do not subscribe to violence. Just taking meaningful action. You know, letting the folks know. I mean, I always couldn't understand why people go and they protest at the state capitol or at the White House or the Capitol, whatever. They should be parking themselves outside the gated communities where the presidents and the CEOs and major shareholders of all these major corporations are.
Yeah,
because those are the people who are really calling the shots. You want to protest your representative, your MP, your congressman, your senator, or whatever. You're wasting your time.
Well, you're
wasting your time.
Yeah, this is something. Sorry, Dave. This is something that I've come across through my work with the legal stuff. How the language has changed. You just mentioned protests. You have a legal right to protest, of course you have. But I saw a great video. Rob Menard explained it in basic terms, and he said, look, yes, you have a legal right to protest. You also have a legal right to shit in your bed, roll about in it, and call it chocolate sauce. It's not it doesn't actually show you any other benefit to get anything out of it. He says protest is like treating you as a child by the government. Yes, you can do this. I give you my permission, but I don't like it. That's all you're saying. Whereas if it was a rejection, that is the fine line. How do we get the rejection pushed forward and not the protest? I mean, you've got people applying for licenses to protest.
That's insane.
That is insane. So how do you publicly reject and not protest? That is the key without the violence, because we're all over the courts. Everybody's in courts challenging these people over in this country. They're done. The courts are bankrupt. Everything is going through the states. Our birth certificates, our bonds are going onto Wall Street. I've got people who've contacted me and said, why am I getting contacted asking for my son's social security number? I said, don't you mean national insurance number? She says, no, we give them that. They said, no, we don't want that one. We want the social security. It's because when the bonds were here, they create national insurance numbers. Now they're going through the states because we're bankrupt. All the courts are bankrupt. It's created a social security number. So I'm now bonded to the United States. So whatever assets you've got, Dave, along with whatever assets I've got in this country, I've got a claim on them. Nobody knows that. Nobody knows how we're being used as an energy through a debtor. Nobody knows it, and until, as you said, the people have got to rise up. But in my experience, and I include myself in the bracket, until it comes and punches you in the face, kicks you in the balls, and says, "We're taking this," and you say, "I'm not doing that," because I had people say to me, "Why didn't you just sell up and start again?" I went, "Because in their law they couldn't do what they did." Yeah, but they did it, and look at what happened to you. I said, oh my God. I said, okay, you got a nice car. I said, I'll come round to your house tonight. I'll take your car. You buy a new one and start again. That's not the same. I said, of course it's the same. I have no right to take your car, just like they have no right to take my property. I said, so if you'd have a principle and say, well, you're not taking my car, but somebody comes and says, well, I'm taking your house because I belong to this bank, you're just going to pull your pants down and say, will you pull them up when you're finished? You know, it's insane, Dave.
It is. And unfortunately, I mean, when I started doing radio about 25 years ago, I remember saying on the air, folks, we have two choices. We either have to have a knockdown, drag them out, bloody revolution,
Yeah.
or we're going to have to get out of the way and wait for this thing to collapse under the weight of its own corruption. And unfortunately,
it never will do, because they'll prop it up and prop it up and prop it up. They keep moving the goalposts. We might think they're bankrupt, but they move the goalposts, like the debt ceiling in America, which shut the government down for a while. At least that's how they reported it here. There were no government and anything, but things still seem to manage to go along. So the system itself is designed to protect itself. So if you know, when we talk about violent revolution, I've got to be honest. I think it's going to be the only way. Like it's the only way they got rid of Ceausescu in Romania, and that weren't too long ago. That's in living memory. You know, when they dragged them out on the streets and they executed them. Now, I don't think that's what we should do. I think they should be dragged out and people should be tried in proper courts and stuff. But they are not against using violence on other people. So why the hell do we feel that we shouldn't be violent against them? That's my point.
You're making the very good point. The point that John Lennon said, that if we allow ourselves to fall into the violence, then they win. Because they have all of the armament, they've got the manpower, they've got the technology, they can squash any revolution that they want. What has to happen is there has to be a paradigm shift. People have to all of a sudden realize that whatever value system that you've got working for you, whatever schema of the world that you have to swallow your pride and ditch your ego and realize I have to make a change. I have to do something. I have to, actually participate in educating our military, our law enforcement, and get them to come around. I saw it floating around on Facebook. There was a video of a French woman pleading with the police. We are not your enemy. Look what you're doing to our country. You are my countrymen, and you're fighting against me here. You should be working with us. And of course, the firefighters, they all turned their back on the fire chief and walked out. You've got all of the paramedics that are now joining the yellow shirts. You have lots of police that are saying, okay, that's it. I'm taking my helmet off. I'm done. I'm with the yellow shirts. That's what has to happen on a global scale. As a matter of fact, when I'm done with this interview, I have some things I have to do this afternoon. But when I'm done with this, I'm going to go stop down at the Army Navy store and I'm going to pick up a yellow vest. I'm going to start wearing it. And of course, people here in the States are saying, what the hell is he wearing a yellow vest for? What's that all about? Because they don't know squat. They're getting their daily dose of fecal matter coming from the mainstream media, whether it be Fox, and that's the brown fecal matter, or the CNN, which is the dark brown fecal matter. And then you've got assorted alphabet agencies like ABC, CBS, NBC, and they're giving you different versions of diuretic information. Bottom line, it's all crap.
Dave, if I put a yellow Ivy's vest on and walk around my area, they'll be asking me, am I fixing potholes?
Yeah, well, that's what
they'll be asking me.
They have no clue about this yellow vest movement because the media has been completely censored in this country. They say, okay, well, there were some little protests and riots in Paris because of a fuel tax.
Yeah, that's what they said over here as well.
Yeah, that's the BS. That's what they're saying. Oh, look at these crazy people doing all this stuff. No. It's a fight against globalism. It's a fight against the central banks. It's a fight against the system.
There were even holding signs talking about pedophile governments as well. So there's signs that there's people there that have got angles of everything. And they're all, as you were saying, the far left and the far right, everybody's had enough of keep switching and intermingling. It's all the same. There is no clear straight line. We have to have a bit of this. We have to have a bit of that just for sanity, because I don't care, Dave, I don't care what you do with your life. As long as it doesn't affect me and you don't hurt anybody or anything, bless you, crack on. And I don't understand how people could, well, I do understand it, but then people have got the fact, well, when I was challenging about gas, people were saying, well, I have to pay it. Why don't you? I said, because I've found out that you can't. and it's impossible. And the fact that you're trying to pay makes the national debt go up. And then they say, oh, austerity, we're going to have to take some stuff off you. I said, do you not understand the part of in this plan that you play? You start it, they take things off you. Oh, I'll start it again. Well, they take more things off you. And if they're not taking enough stuff, or they want to ramp it up a bit further, we'll blow a few things up and blame it on somebody. And while you're looking over there, we'll take everything else. It's too simple, this stuff, to sit and understand it. But to try and talk to people to organise, because everybody, I mean, I mentioned the other day, Dave, about, you remember, I think it was 1977, something like that, the film Network, where he has a breakdown on TV and he says, you've got to get mad.
1976, Howard Beale. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Exactly.
You've got to get mad first. Well, I've done the mad. I mean, I had a mate of mine who was that angry. He was drunk, right? But he was that angry. He jumped in front of a police car and pointed at them and said, "You are oppressing us." He was that angry. Now he looks back on that. He says it wasn't a good move, that was it? No, it wasn't. But people have to get that anger, and you know, while I'm a Celebrity's on or Love Island or something like that, people.
Yeah, well, people do have to get angry, but they have to direct that anger in something constructive. Not going out and saying, okay, I'm going to join this protest. I'm going to go throw this trash can through this window. That's like really going to get stuff done. That's really going to endear people to you, right? No, people have to realize that you've got to do something drastic. And if you're sick of this two-party system that we've got here in the States, or what do you got? 4 parties over there now, right? I mean,
well, the main ones, we've got Labour, we've got Conservative. They're the only two, really. And what you were talking about, well, Labour will say, oh, we don't like the Tories because of this. And the Tories will say, we don't like Labour because of that. What people tend to not bother with, which is the same as the Republicans and Democrats, is what both parties all agree on. We agree on all of this, but we'll argue about this and we'll argue about that. So that's the show. That's the show.
Exactly. This is why people have to divorce themselves from that. They have to step away from this two-party system. It isn't working. It's
not politics, isn't it? Politics is
for you. It's not working for us.
It's the definition of insanity to keep repeating the same thing over again and expecting a different outcome. Jason, have you become a special constable, or have you got a high-vis vest on there?
Well, I've got an high-vis on. I've got loads of high-vis in this house. But I said to my wife, I said, is one of me what high-vis in the thing? But unfortunately, this is her riding one, a horse riding one. So it's a bit tight on me. So as you can see, there you go.
That's a little snug on you there.
Quite sexy, doesn't it? Look, I look quite sexy, don't I? Look at and stood up as well. That's not happened in a long time. Not looking sexy and standing up. But I've been looking sexy and sitting down, but not looking sexy and standing up. Listen, I want to say hello to some of the people that are in the chat room. Apple Charlotte's in there as well. How are you doing? I read the thing that you'd posted earlier on. I understand you've not been very well, so get well soon to you, Apple Charlotte. Super Leeds is in there as usual, and John Hull, who is the guy that does our write-ups as well. Thank you again, John Hull. I'm going to thank him every single time that I possibly can, because if you actually knew how lazy I was, then you'd understand how difficult it is to get this show going.
I know how lazy you are.
I know you do. I know you do. Hi, Super Leeds, Kendo Taylor, Peanut Man's in there as well. All the usual suspects. Jones in there as well. Jones got her own show. I still don't know whether it's Monday or Tuesday. If you put in chat,
it's tonight, 9 o'clock.
Is it tonight, 9 o'clock on People's Internet Radio? Jones on there. So get yourself over there after you've listened to us on Raconteurs News here tonight. We've got Dave VonKleist. We've got a couple of minutes before we have our little break. Anywhere you want to take us, Webby? This is pretty much your gig, because you missed out last time we got Dave on. So why don't you give us 5 minutes worth of material?
What, bills of exchange, did you say?
You're talking to me because I got to be out of here in 5 minutes. I got.
Oh, you're only doing an hour with us, Dave?
Sorry?
Are you only doing an hour with us tonight?
I can't stay. I have a gig.
No, that's no worries. No worries, mate. No worries. Well, basically, just to wrap up, I mean, Jason, you're the. I know we've all done 9/11 to the nth, but I mean, you've gone into like virtual, a bit like Alan, the armchair detective. You've gone into all the metadata about it and stuff like that brings up anomalies. So just to add to what we've all been talking about, which is the conspiracy that goes massively beyond 9/11, what would you bring to that could actually show some people? Because I know you've woken up a few people just on 9/11 that has then spread to other things. So where would you go with that?
With the 9/11 thing, Dave, we've got Dave. If you're going to have to go in very soon, I know it's your birthday today, Dave, and many happy returns.
All the best
from everybody here at Raconteurs News, and I'm sure everyone in the chat room as well, and my wife behind me, and Watson, my dog.
Hey, Watson. Hi, Watson. Watson, puppy.
Watson, come on.
Watson.
Hey. We know it's your birthday, so we've got. If you've only got a couple of minutes left with us, what we should do is, what message would you like to portray? Because I know you've been on the 9/11 thing a long time ago, and I do believe that we had a little bit of a part of you coming back into doing some radio stuff as well, because it was just after we'd had you on and you'd not been on a radio show for quite a while, and then you started doing some radio stuff. So what you're doing now, what you're concentrating on, and what's your message for the last few minutes of us having you on? We'll continue in the second half, won't we, Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
well, if I'm going to leave you with a message, then I will be redundant and I will repeat what I said before. Drastic times call for drastic measures. Everyone out there has to shed their ego, swallow their pride, and realize that they have to step outside of their comfort zone and do something that maybe they didn't feel that they should be doing. And what I'm talking about specifically is abandoning your parties. Don't pay your taxes. That's another thing. What if everybody in the United States said, screw this, I'm not going to file income tax returns? If everybody did it, there's not a whole lot that they could do. Same thing can be said about unregistering from the Republican or Democratic parties. If you go in there and unregister, abandon them, that will send a resounding message, number one, okay? Number two, once they have that message, people will actually be able to come together in a common cause and start realizing that they've been screwed over by both parties. And if they don't want to have a central banking system, and if they don't want to have an IRS, and if they don't want Monsanto calling the shots, and they don't want the FDA and the CDC and the NSA, all of these alphabet agencies are running this country. And if you don't like it, then you have to divorce yourself from that system. And
you came out with Common Cause then, and that was very George H.W. Bush.
Common Cause, oh my gosh. But anyway, that's my message now. And I mean, the other message is get right with your friends, your family, and your God, because you're going to need them.
Yeah, I agree.
This is the time, folks. It's going to get critical.
Have you got any sites or anything where we can direct people to go look at your material? Have you got any stuff on YouTube that we could?
Well, you can go to DaveVonKleist.com. That's my website, or you can just YouTube my name. Just put Dave Von. You won't even have to get. You're
all over there, mate.
Yeah, just put Dave and VON, and you'll see it'll pop up there, and just peruse around. Yeah, some of that stuff is 10 years old, but like I said, I got out of the radio biz about 9 years ago, and yeah, I'll do a couple of interviews now and then, but I'm not throwing my hat back into the broadcaster's ring. I've been there, done that, and I know I know that's why I left the truth movement, because it became so infiltrated and so many misinformers out there. And when I was in it, I was being labeled as a right-wing extremist, left-wing extremist. You're a neo-Nazi. You're a liberal. An MK Ultra. Let me see what else. Oh yeah, I was a Mossad agent and a CIA mole. I mean, God, come on. No, I'm a musician. I do voice. That's what I do, and I happen to have some scruples, some morals, and I did a radio show. Let's leave it at that. So anyway, I have to go, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for your time, Dave. It's been great talking to you again. Great catch up. You're an honourable man. You've got a lot of credentials there because you've walked the walk, you've talked the talk, and you come out this side. And you know, we've all come out the sides, and we say, now it's up to you. It's up to you, people.
It is. Swallow your pride, shed your ego, step outside of your comfort zone, get out of the cage, and that's all I can say, folks. Just opt out of the system. The system is broken. It doesn't work. Then get out of it.
Yeah, I think your bong's just about ready in the background there as well, Dave.
Right, listen, thanks very much for joining us on your birthday. We really appreciate. We feel almost like royalty. So you've joined us on your birthday. You go and enjoy the rest of your birthday. I understand it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon there. So you've got plenty of your day. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Listen, folks, we are going to be back.
Bye, guys.
Cheers. Thank you very much, Dave. That's Dave von Kleist, who joined us for the first hour tonight. Myself and Webby are going to be back in the second half. We're going to be doing a second hour, aren't we, Webby? Yes. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, thumbs up. We got a thumbs up from him. So yeah, we're going to be doing a second hour, and we'll be back just after a Heath record. Not enough Robin. Too many halos, not enough heroes coming up with the goods. So you thought you'd like to change the world, decided to stage a jumble sale for the poor. So you thought you'd like to change the world, decided to stage a jumble sale for the poor, for the poor. It's a waste of time if you know you try shaking your box in front of the queen. Cause the first is find out first thing you see. It's a waste of time if you know what they mean. Not enough hands on heart. Too many ready to call it a day before the day starts. So you thought you'd like to see them heal. Got to breathe at the stage and appeal for the poor. So you thought you'd like to see them heal. Got to breathe at the stage and appeal for the poor, for the poor. It's a waste of time if you know what they mean. Try shaking your box in front of the queen. Cause the person's find out first in the scene. It's a waste of time if you know what they mean. It's a waste of time if you know what they mean. Try shaking your box in front of the queen.
'Cause a burst is fine and bursting at the seams. It's a waste of time if you know what they mean.
East, west, my old mate there. It's Flag Day. It's a waste of time. If you know what they mean, try shaking your box in front of the Queen. It's all about charities and things like that. Yeah, so we've had a good hour with Dave von Kleist. Unfortunately, we didn't know he was only going to be here for an hour, but he was. So we're just going to have to fill ourselves, aren't we, Webby, for the second hour? It's not a problem, is it, really? I mean, I'm sure you could do the whole thing on your own.
Well, we'll just jump back to something that Dave brought up. I mean, obviously, you brought up, we were talking about, well, we didn't actually get to Tommy Robinson and stuff like that, what we're talking about off the air, but all the Israel connections. And I wondered if you had an opinion on Israel, Jason.
Well, you know I do, don't you? You do know I do. I have an intense dislike for Israel, the nation, not the Israeli people. I mean, the people, apart from the people that work in the government or are in the IDF or anything like that, but not for the Israeli people, but for the state of Israel and the government. And just much in the same way that I have a distaste for my own government. So, you know, it's not like I'm being hypocritical and saying, no, we're good and they're bad. I'm saying we're all bad.
Exactly, that's the point, isn't it? So why is it you're anti-Semitic when you're pointing out something that Israel is doing bad, yet nobody gives a shit when we point out that we're selling arms to Saudi Arabia, who are destroying and genociding an entire nation? Well, the hypocrite.
It's the same thing. It's the psychological part of it. Is that. Just if you get somebody, if you just an individual, and you say to an individual, tell me something that something bad that someone's done to you, right? They'll come up with about 1 billion different examples. Then you say to them, tell me something bad that you've done to somebody else, and suddenly they've got a loss of memory and they don't know anything, and it's done. It's psychology, and that's how we've been manipulated by media. For God's sake, you know, if people say, right, oh God, this brainwashing and this mind control it's nothing. It's a conspiracy theory. It's just it's farting in window, whatever. Just think about. They're now talking about making it illegal in certain places. I think it's in Australia, but I think legislation comes, it'll be here as well. That it's going to be illegal to say the words he or she, refer to somebody as he or she. I mean, it's just getting to a point where it's so ridiculous, and people are bending over and being fucked up arse, basically, by their own minds, because they're tapping into this shit. There's nothing. I posted a thing on Twitter yesterday, and on Facebook, I think, as well, a picture. I saw a very unusual looking person in the crowd at Newcastle game. It looked like
an unusual looking person in a crowd at a Newcastle game.
Did you see the picture that I'm talking about?
No.
Did you not? Oh, let me find this pic. Let me just find it on my Facebook page, and then I'll share it with everybody, because you know, this is the sort of thing that would probably land me in jail in a couple of years' time. Let me look at my thing. Here we go. So if I go on my Facebook page, and I'll show you the post. Let me just scroll it down, then I'll share my screen with you. But this is the sort of thing that's going to get me. Here we go. And I saw this on the TV, and I thought to myself, "Oh my God, I don't know what that is." I don't know who it is, but it's an amusing look. Okay. So let me share my screen. Share screen. Where's that? Oh, share screen. Screen share. Okay.
If you click on that little cog at the top right-hand corner.
Yeah, that one. So can you see that?
Is that Eddie Izzard?
That so I put this is what and as you can see, it looks like Gazza's back on the booze.
Yes, I have seen it now. I have seen it. Peter Beardsley's let himself go.
Yeah, but you know, I thought it was an interesting image. I don't know anything about the individual that's behind it, but I'm confused, and I thought that was what was supposed to happen anyway. I thought you were supposed to be confused. So if I met that person, I referred to them as it, then they'd probably be offended because I couldn't. You know, I couldn't decide whether they were male or female, but I'll probably get done for that. I'll probably get done for it. Hang on a minute, just here we go. Stop sharing. There we go. Right, I'm back on. I should be back on anyway.
See, where I'm lost with stuff, Jason, is because I'm talking to people about these transgender things that are going on, kids going on beta blockers because they might want to become a girl or a boy. They've not decided yet. People I know who I interact with on a daily basis, all they say is, that'll never happen. That'll never happen. And you know what? Those people 10 years ago were saying that'll never happen. And today they'll go, hey, you mentioned that 8 years ago. And I'm going, I know, but this isn't magic. All I'm doing is reading. I've had some time to be able to go and read. So many people I know don't have that time. And when they've got time to do nothing, that's literally what they want to do because they've worked themselves into the bloody ground, Jason. So we talk about mind control. It's as long as you keep people busy, a lot of people don't need to be controlled. That's why people won't automatically say, yeah, there is a mind control issue going on. Because people are that busy, they don't have time to go and look and think. I've shown stuff to people and spoke to people, and when they've read it and they've seen it, Jason, they've gone, fuck, that's right, that. Oh, well, how have they got away with that? Do you know what I mean? I mean, a lad at work said to me, he was asking me about 9/11. I thought, oh, here we go, he's going to start taking them out. He said, no, he said, I'm going to have a look. I said, I gave him a few things, like, about 3 weeks later, he come and found me. He says, I had a couple of hours spare the other day and I put this 9/11 thing on. And he literally went, how did they get away with that? And he'd watched an 1.5-hour documentary because he can critically think he was just that busy because he had like, I think it was a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old when 9/11 happened. And you're working full time as well. It was a bit like me. Oh my God, there's something not right there. Right, I'll go and pick the kids up. You know, you kept constantly busy, but we seem to be at a time, Jason, don't we, where it's like with the tribulations that people I speak to with now, it's like they've come out the other side and they're sat on like the bank and they're just watching what is unfolding because people are coming out and saying, hey, this is going on. And people are going, yeah, we know. It's like you're actually watching a film unfold before your eyes almost.
Yeah, it is like it is a film, innit? I mean,
yes. Yeah.
Mostly, just look how much nonsense there is. It's just complete and utter nonsense. We've got Raheem Sterling this weekend. These are the big stories. Raheem Sterling. Some Chelsea fans shouted some racial abuse, allegedly racial abuse. I don't know. Yeah. I've not seen any transcript. I've not read anybody. I've not seen anything of what it was. But allegedly, it was racial abuse. But he's seemed to have dealt with that in such a mature way. He's just gone. Well, he's gone. He seems to have gone from, well, look, the media are just reporting this crap about me, and so I'm going to get abused at different places, at different clubs. And I just thought that the way that he dealt with it, he didn't come out and it weren't like show racism, the red card, and Clark Carlisle, you know, falling out of his car, pissed as a fucking newt, and then going into Sky Sports Studios to tell us how we should all, like, you know, be better people and all that sort of thing. And or what's his face, fucking Sinclair, that what. Yeah. Who calls somebody a white bastard. I mean, that's real proper racism, you know. But
you know what, Jason? I remember in 1987, John Barnes disappearing in a shower of bananas at Everton. And what did John Barnes do? Went on and won the league that season because he doesn't care. He'd grown up with it. He knew what it was. It didn't affect him because he wouldn't allow it to affect him. What people seem to have been taught, that it seems to be okay to be a victim. You know, it's very, very, you see it all around. People have become these victims that they feel sorry for themselves. I've been there myself. You know, you've been there. We all sit around and feel sorry for ourselves, but you can't say that some of this, if not all of it, is self-inflicted on a mass scale. Everybody plays their part in it. We've heard it so many times. Well, you're playing a part in a play or a film that somebody else is writing. When are you going to say, if this is your film, when are you going to say, I have value in this, I value myself, I'm better than this, I need to now grow up and see what is going on here? And that is, you can use analogies like unplugging from the matrix, blah, 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 but look at the financial system that controls everything. But money.
As an example, I went getting back to football, and you were talking about John Barnes and the bananas and everything. Well, back in early 90s, I used to work in a club in Melton Mowbray, and which is about an hour and a half away from where I live. So what I'd do is I would do in Friday night and Saturday night, and then I'd come home. So I was stopping over in an hotel called the Grange. Now, a few of the lads said to me, well, come they were Leicester City supporters. Oh, come to football with us. So I went to a game. I remember I went to a game at Filbert Street, and it was Leicester against Watford. And David James was in goal for Watford, and he got so much abuse from them fans.
Yeah,
so much abuse from the supporters. They were calling him all sorts of things. I wouldn't like to repeat because you know, it's
people will be offended.
Well, no, I won't like to repeat them because they're fucking horrible things to say about somebody. Not because people will be offended. I couldn't give a fuck whether people are offended about what I said. I won't say it because I just think that they're fucking horrible things to say. So, but what I will say about him, you know, he conducted himself impeccably, and he came away. I remember distinctly because I was on the standing area behind his goal in the second half, and he got a tirade of abuse. In fact, I went to another game. At Leicester, a similar game, and it was Peter Shilton that were getting abused because they were having an affair with a woman called Tina. But this was completely different. But the thing was that throughout the entire game, he didn't react once to any of the abuse. But at the end of the game, Watford had beaten Leicester 4-1 on their own patch, and he just turned around and did that. And that's it. It just went off. And that's how that should be dealt with now. But now we seem to have got this way. It's got to be on Twitter, and everyone's got to be virtue signaling and saying this is so disgusting. This is life. This is what life is. There are knobheads about. There are wankers that are gonna have a go at somebody for the colour of the skin or for their religion or for anything. What we have to do is, instead of like saying, oh, get rid of these people, we have to shame them out of doing that sort of thing, rather than just like you say, the victimhood seems to be the highest place at the moment. And it again, I don't want to go, but if you go back through through the last few years, the amount of victimhood that's been exploited. You know, we've got Holly and Jessica's mum and dad being special guests at Manchester United, and they're on TV and it's everywhere. You know, these people have just lost their kids. They should be at home grieving, not being on. You know, I know Manchester United probably wanted to show the solidarity and all that because they've got these shirts on and everything, but the parents themselves, you know, were involved in that, and for me, that would have been. It just would have been just fuck off. I don't want to know. You know, I want my daughter. I don't want any of this fucking shit. Same with McCann's, although McCann's is a completely different situation. Well, but I suppose it's going to get into the farcical situation. But the Huntley case is going to get into the farcical situation because Ian Huntley's decided that he wants to be a woman and he wants to be transferred to a women's prison. Now, whether you believe that Ian Huntley was guilty of that or not, and I know that there are places you can go and look and there's some evidence that he may not have been. I don't know. I like to look at all sides of things. I've got no, but you know, we're getting to a point where I don't know whether it's just being pushed to a degree where they can say, look, we pushed it to this far. We can get away with fucking much worse. We can get away with putting Ian Huntley in a women's prison because he says he's a woman.
It seems all the way around. I mean, I'll tell you about a guy called Owen Benjamin. I've come across him over YouTube. He's a really funny guy, comedian. He's done the Hollywood thing, done Saturday Night Live and everything. And people who he thought were friends and everything were posting on Twitter. And he was posting that his kid was going to have beta blockers. I don't know if the kid was 5 or 9 or something. And in his opinion, he says that's child abuse because you shouldn't be doing things like that. Let the kid be a kid. And in his words, he says, my kid wanted to be an Autobot this morning. Yesterday it was a dinosaur. Where do we stop with this? What's going on? Why are you doing this? And he ended up, Jason, losing his agent, so-called friends, everything. And he can't get any work in Hollywood. He said, you know, things got a bit tight. And if it, you know, again, we're going to have Michelle Young on, hopefully, to talk about what happened with her. You're talking about billions of pounds involved in there. They can't get help. It shows you that this thing, what people call all conspiracy theories, is screwed down tight. And I stand by the fact that we're in a cage, like Dave was saying. We're in a cage, but the fucking door's open, Jason. But we're too scared to go outside that cage because nobody knows what there is apart from Labour and Conservative. Nobody knows what else to do.
No, because that's all they've been brought up with, and that's what they've been conditioned with. And so, you know, to get out of that, there needs to be. Well, to be fair, let's face it. To get out of that, there'd have to be a change that would be generational, and it would have to come through generations. It would have to get a generation of people saying to the children, "Don't fucking listen to any of them dickheads." You know, like we got in America, we've got Republican and a Democrat. I'm going to point out to Dave that over here we've pretty much got the same thing. We've got Labour and Conservative. The only thing is that the Conservatives in America are red and the Democrats are blue, and over here it's reverse. Conservatives are blue and Labour are red. So again, another thing to nicely confuse people. So especially, you know, it just seems that everything is just designed just completely to confuse people. And then when people react to that confusion, there's always some way of repelling that reaction, whether it be legislation, there's laws, you can't do this, like you were talking about earlier on. You have to apply to do a protest, to protest something. I mean, that just completely, it's a complete oxymoron of what you're trying to do. It's just ridiculous.
So,
you know, it's like saying.
That's exactly what it sounds like. You're asking your child, do you want an hamburger or a cheeseburger? They're the options that you've got. And you can protest about them both, but you can have one or the other, or you do it without. And that's treating, you're being treated as a child because you're acting as a child because of the system that we've been pushed into, all this debt. The language, everything, Jason, is orientated to make these millions of workers that can't think. And then, you know, like you were saying, if you're not controlled by all that confusion, you're then that busy that you can't even look at the confusion where you could actually sort something out. When you have that chance, it's normally one dickhead like me or you who goes, hey, there's something fucking wrong here. And then all of a sudden you're piled on, shut up, shut him up, you know, all that. It's because people haven't got time, but this has got to collapse, Jason. It can't carry on as it is.
It has to be made to collapse, though. It's never going to collapse on its own. Like I said before, it props itself up. It defends itself. It's self-preserving. The system is self-preserving. It has to be brought down. Now, whether that's through civil look, I know Dave's got like this, you know, stop paying your taxes, but most people are on PAYE.
Yeah,
how do you do that?
Exactly, you can. I mean, when he brought it up, he says he was talking about filing the taxes, which are the self-employment stuff. Even in this country, self-employment income tax is voluntary. You apply, you want to give them those figures to take some stuff off you. And you use that number because you're not applying to a job on PAYE, they can't automatically take it because you've used your number. So it's different for a self-employed person. These are options where if you knew how to stand, because we're going into courts to protest something like income tax, you hit it on the head when they're not going to, the system is self-preserving. Can you imagine companies not making the kind of money or the profit that they're making because somebody comes in and says, hey, you can't do this? That's the mass awakening. That, I mean, people are waking up in all different areas, from fracking to all kinds. It's telling all those people to put their egos to one side, to stop saying you're right or this is right. Let's all come together with what we've got and formulate something. That is the difficult thing, because I've spoken to a few people this over the weekend to try and get a venue to do some talks in Lee. I might as well talk to the wall, mate, because you know, if they're not in trouble, they say, oh, that's over my head. I can't work it out because of what the children will face if you don't do something now. There's a definite time, like Dave von Kleist was saying, there's a time now. There's something that's got to be done. So you're either going to do nothing and it'll fall how it falls.
But hasn't it always been the time? You know, whenever...
well, not in my lifetime. In my lifetime, I've never seen government in this country under so much scrutiny, bollock naked, with all the lies, all the pedophilia, everything. I've never, ever seen it so open and bare. Yes, we've had scandals all throughout, but I've never seen dots joined up to make this picture so massive. And you can see it in every country, and then you see the same networks, you see the same corporations, and then you start to put everything together. I've never, ever known that. Never before. So this is new for me, Jason. I mean, yeah, you're right. It's always been that time, but you know, there's a time that maybe no man knows when that time is.
I'm coming from, I know it's probably because of the length of time that I've been at this shit, probably 2006 2005, 4-5, it went when that Beckham thing happened that mentioned, by the way, you know, like certain people don't ever mention that they were in mainstream media. I never mentioned the Beckham thing, but it was around about that time. But, you know, there seemed to be quite a peak around about 2006, 2007, where there was a hope that things were going to start to change because there were things happening. The NIST, particularly on 9/11, the NIST thing came out, the NIST report. Then National Institute of Science and Technology report came out on Building 7 and said that it had been diesel fires that had made it collapse in its own footprint. And people were saying, "Nah, bollocks." And there were even actually people that were just going, but we seem to we got to a point where we thought this is all going to fall to bits. It's all going to fall to bits. But then something new comes along. And then we're distracted again. Now, can we get to a point where shut up. Can we get to a point where we're all mobilized, we've all got the same ambition, shall we? Now, I know we were talking about this yellow vest thing, and I've got mine on. Right, that I'm putting my thing on. I'll put mine on because Watson, come here, Watson. Oh, he's on.
Does he not think his name's fuck off yet?
No, he seems to get really angry with things, that aren't even think. He gets angry with fence. The fence down at the bottom of the garden has got big teeth marks in it and everything, and it's been chewed to bits. But because when you let him out, he just goes running straight down there and bites it to death. He gets great mad at inanimate objects. I daren't leave my leg down here. I'll tell you when he's in case I come down there and got a bleeding leg. No, but you say you were sceptical about the yellow jacket thing. Now, I know I'm wearing a yellow jacket, but I'm not hanging my hat on them. I'm not hanging my hat on it, but I do.
You see something there, yeah.
I do see something there, and definitely. I know that it can be co-opted, but I think not with the right leadership, but with the right common sense, it can be stopped from being co-opted and being infiltrated like everything else has been.
But that's all we've ever lacked, isn't it? Common sense. As a population, that's all we've ever lacked because of the confusion of the education system. That's what we miss is the common sense. Because again, if you can put it in such simple terms that if I don't lend you something, therefore you don't owe me anything. That's the principality of this. If you still believe that banks are aiding you to buy your house because they're lending you somebody else's money, then you're coming from such a disadvantage straight away. And I always say it, we live in an age of information. Ignorance is a choice. The information's there, it's free. I've had a few debates online with different people because there's some people around that are charging people for free information. And I don't get it. If you do work for people and you do everything, that's fine. You're doing something, but God, this information's there for free. People don't know where to get it, but people are getting sucked in and say, well, give me this and I'll help you with this and that and the other. That's not helping this. And that's why I never get involved with groups and working with other groups or anything like that. People tend to let you down. You can trust yourself because if you make your mistake, you've got to stand by it. No matter how much you want to argue with yourself, you've got to stand by it. You care for people, you love people, you draw a principle. I want to make lives better for my people, for my daughter. I'm not interested in making money from somebody who's already in the shit because I've got a bit of knowledge that they've not got. And until society comes together with something like that, where they think, well, I'll do that if I get something out of it. Well, that's not the way forward for me.
Mm. Well, like you say, but an example of this is, where you talk about people, the information's there for them and they can do it and it's free. But like you said, they always want somebody else to do it. Now, this is something that I exploited in the late 90s. I think it was about 1998. But I'd got, let's just say, just before I got into pornography.
Was that acting or watching?
Anyway, just before I got into into making money out of pornography. I'd got some premium rate phone line. I got a premium rate phone line at £1 a minute, and people could ring me up and tell me over the phone what they wanted to search, and then I would search it for them. That I actually made money from that. So I got to my phone line. I got a premium rate number at £1 a minute, and we're talking about 1998. You know, that was the height of the premium rate, and that's why I made some quite a bit of money out of premium rate phone lines. But at that time, that's what I did. I got a premium rate phone line, and because I got an ISDN line and I could search pretty quickly, people would ring me up and I'd search for things at £1 a minute. And obviously, you know, you try and stretch that out. You would try and stretch it out, wouldn't you?
Is that a euphemism?
No, they wouldn't search for porn, yeah, and like get me to. Can you imagine that? Someone ringing up and saying, "Can you?"
No, that's mad, mate. There's no way I'd ring you up and say, "Hey, can you search for some porn for me?" What?
Well, no, not porn, you bellend. I'm not saying that. No, they used to. If they wanted to search for something, they could ring me up and I'd search for it online and give them the information. This is. Okay. I said it was before I got into porn.
Oh right, sorry, I'm getting mixed up. I just stopped at porn for some reason.
Well, yeah, you probably do. That's probably what you do when you're scrolling around on your computer at night time as well. You stop at all porn. But no, but the point I'm trying to make is what you're making is that that back then I could charge somebody £1 a minute so that I could search online for an holiday for them, which were most of stuff, you know, going on searching for cheap holidays and shit like that. Nowadays, people have got that at the fingertips. They've got it in the pockets. And yet the amount of ignorance is at an epidemic level. Nobody, you know, most people, there's some of the stuff that I see on Facebook. There's some of the stuff, for God's sake, you think to yourself, oh my God, you know, you'll get people on Facebook and they'll ask on the status, does anybody know a good this or that or other? You've got fucking internet at your fucking hands. At your fingertips, you can do what you want, and you're asking somebody else to do it for you. This is what we've got into. And, you know, but it's all right. I don't need anybody to tell me how to post a picture of my fucking dinner or my fucking kids dressed up in the school uniform just before they're going to go off to school that nobody cares about. Nobody cares about. But all this, like you said, this information, this stuff, all this stuff, how we've been lied to, how we've been fucking duped, how Brexit has been just a complete and utter fucking psyop from start to finish. Let's give them something, right? And then we'll get half of them, well, just about half of them, to fucking start moaning about it and being bitches and fucking crying because we're going to leave EU and we're all racist cunts and and then what we'll do is we'll fucking stop Brexit. Then that's an end to democracy. Then we just say, look, we can do what the fuck we want. It don't matter what you want. We've already demonstrated that there. And they've got half the people, nearly half the people, on their side because they wanted to stop Brexit. They're just saying, excuse, sorry, don't release me, keep me in this fucking prison. I want to be in this prison. I'm all right in this prison. Yeah, you won't be in a fucking couple of months when they fucking put bubbling with you and he rapes fuck out of your up arse, but you're not fucking looking about that, are you? You're thinking about what you're fucking doing now, and now it's everybody else that's getting fucked up and not yourself.
Is that it? Right over your eye.
Sorry.
No, mate. That's what I'm saying. Until you get angry about this stuff, Jason, what are you ever going to look at? I mean, it's, you know, we laugh and joke because it's gallows humor, because it's scary. It's scary to know that I'm in close contact with people who've been in close contact with people who've hung themselves for £1,500 council tax debt for the bailiffs to find when they're not even liable for that tax. It's a commercial tax. It's when you explain that to people, yet they still go and pay the council tax. I don't know how to break that, because I've got to play the game as much as what anybody else has, because I said a long time ago, I'm not willing to destroy my entire life to try and prove points to idiots that will not go out and do it themselves. I've known people who have gone, hey, I've got a great idea, and they've used people as guinea pigs, Jason, and they've lost the lot. You know, you're going into a county court and using ecclesiastic law. You might, or going in using freeman. People were using people to try. Some people were going in just volunteering it. We needed all that to actually build a base to see what didn't work, because all we knew there was something wrong, and we knew that we didn't have to be part of it, but nobody knew what to do. But it all happened to those people. Every one of us all ended up in the shit through our own fault, or nothing to do with our own fault at all. But we all ended up in the shit, and we come out with information that people can go and look at freely. As you were saying, how many people do you see sat on the fucking bus talking these days? They've got a phone in their hands. What they're doing, they're listening to music, they're reading Facebook, watching what's on dinner, all this shite, because they can do it. I mean, I know somebody who actually watches people play games online. Do you know what I mean? He sits and watches somebody play a game while that fella is getting paid to play that game. Now, I can't grasp that. But if you've got time to go and do that, have you not got time to go and see how through the banking system, that house you don't own, that you will never own, they are taking everything from you? Is that a good deal?
What were you talking about? Game? Are you talking about somebody watching somebody else play a game?
Yes.
What for me, when you're on your own, you're going to watch somebody else playing a game?
Yes.
What happened to the art of wanking? That's what the internet were invented for, primarily, so that you could have a. I mean, although
he does like it, he does like watching him play games. So I can't go that far into detail, but yes, he's not on his own. There's loads of people that do it, Jason. They watch people play. I don't know what the latest war online thing is, where you can play all together in group things, but he watches somebody else play that rather than participate it, and then he gets paid to play it while other people are watching him. He racks up subscriptions on his YouTube channel, and I think that Count Dankula, I think he's part of that gaming type thing.
Oh, is that guy that got done for his dog?
Yeah, he's not.
You see, they have been after me, and I trained my stump to do an Hitler salute. And I think what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do for a future show is I'm going to paint my stump as Hitler, and then do the Hitler salute. I can't do it because now I've got my leg on, but pop it up like that, and if it's got a picture of Hitler on it, then I might be able to get an appearance in court. Fucking disabled man trains his stump to look like Hitler and do an Hitler salute. Listen, we've got some minutes left. It's Raconteurs News. My dog is doing my fucking head in the background. Cat's outside or something, and he's just like shouting at him because he's a dickhead. And he doesn't know how to communicate with people. I think it's about time we had his bollocks chopped off, to be fair, because every time I take him out anywhere, anybody comes past us and he's after him, and he's only a little cunt, so he's going to get kicked in one day. So we're probably going to have his nuts off. We've got last quarter of an hour. Let's talk about what I wanted to talk about is what's coming up. We've got Colin Worrell tomorrow, but I wanted us, because we don't really talk off air, me and you, people might not understand that, but how we can do these shows, we aren't really talking off air. It's because we hate each other, let's just say. A little bit like Bill Murray and Harold Ramis in Ghostbusters.
We're definitely not Morecambe and Wise, mate.
So what we do is we very rarely talk. But what I wanted to do is while you're on, I thought we'd see what you thought of the idea. I want next week's probably going to be our last week of this year. We'll probably do a show before. We might do a show in between Christmas and New Year. You never know. But next week's probably going to be our last shows because it's the week before Christmas. Everybody has time off, and nobody really wants to be listening to us while they're opening the presents and eating the crackers and the turkeys and all that sort of thing. So I thought what I want to do, and I want to do this now where people are listening, so that they can say that we have done this. And I want to get Andy on to for his last show for a bit of a going away thing.
Well, I was going to ask you. I was going to speak to you about that actually, because I thought we're only going to do one more. Well, a couple more in the week, but I thought if we're going to do a Christmas thing, Andy's going to have to be on it.
That's what I wanted to. I wanted to do something. I've got something. There's one or two little things that I'm putting together, but I want Andy to come on. I want us to do a swan song for Andy. I'm sure he'll be back anyway when he gets his, when everything's all sorted itself out. So, but I do want to get him on a swan song, and I know he's insistent that he. That perhaps, he insisted at the end of this year, so I think we've still got a little window. So perhaps we'll both get into.
I think we let him go early. I think we've been easy on him. He's definitely got to come back for a final. Yeah,
he's definitely. Yeah, so we're good. We'll put that out there, Andy. Next week, Monday or Tuesday. It's up to you, mate. I know you had an idea of doing a pre-record, didn't you, Webby? But I don't think that quite works with us, because with the interaction we get on the chat room, I think it's we can. Yeah, I just had a look at the chat room and I saw Apple Charlotte had put Count Spuncular, which sort of distracted me a little bit.
I wonder why. I've seen. It was obviously when we were talking about the governments and that. Amanda Phillips posted that we need to drag them out like they did in the Ukraine. They put the governments in the bin. They did literally. They threw I don't know if it was a prime minister or MPs, but I think it was the prime minister. They actually put him in a skip, and every time he tried to climb out, they threw him back in.
Well, that's what we should do, isn't it? I mean, come on. I mean,
it's got to come. You were talking about Nuremberg trials. That is what it will be, but it's going to be on such a scale, Jason, because it's bigger than anybody could imagine. If you were coming at this from scratch, it's bigger than anybody could imagine. It's always been there. This conspiracy is so big. It involves so many societies, as Dave was going through the ABC agencies, not just as the intelligence services. You've got Ronald Bernard telling you how that banking system works, how he would broker money and give it to these agencies to go and create war. We know it's perpetual war. All the evidence is there. You've got a phone in your hand that'll tell you everything that you need to know. You're traveling, have a look. Then do your job. Watch EastEnders. When you pick up your phone and you're looking at seeing what your mate's put for his dinner, just have a Google. Do something. It doesn't mean go out and, do something if you're not at that stage, but learn. Pass something on to your children rather than everything what we've been passed on, because I know for a fact that my mum and dad would be disgusted to think that they, taught me a load of bullshit. But they taught me how to survive, and my mum taught me to critically think. The information wasn't there for them. The information's there for us. That's the difference.
It is, but it seems to be being largely ignored in it. We've got Colin Worrell on tomorrow night. What's Colin got lined up for us? Anything new? I mean, Colin's been on a couple of times on Raconteurs News. I don't think he's been on while you've been hosting, but he has been on a couple of times. What's he got for us tomorrow?
Well, I wanted him on the show because I had a good chat with him at the common law courts up at Hindley, and obviously gone for independence, and he's tried to wake up people around his area in Hull and everything. So it's time now. People who are actually not just, as we always say, talking the talk, but they're walking the walk as well. Get them on, give us some views, because people in those areas will. They'll want a bit more. Do you want me to just carry on talking, or can you hear me?
I can hear you, mate. I'm sorry, I went into the kitchen for a drink. Sorry.
I know it's normally as bad when I'm talking to you and you just fucking wheel off stage left.
Well, you're talking to audience. You're not talking to me. You're talking to the audience. Telling the audience what's happening. Not me, mate. Not me. I'm just going to get my drink. All right.
Yeah, no worries. Say again, over.
Bottoms up.
No, but it comes down to the fact that people have got the chance to learn this stuff, and it will change your life if you do learn it. It'll make you angry. Well, it should make you angry at the very least. It was a hell of a smash in the teeth when you're trying to hold on to everything that's being taken off your hand. You're trying to learn at the same time. That was very difficult. That's like being pulled underwater while you're trying to swim up to the surface. And you're trying to learn how to swim at the same time. It was, it's not an experience that I'd say people should just enter into lightly. But there's going to be a stage where it's going to come and knock on your door. I'm talking to people now who want to do things, yet they're scared of somebody knocking on the door. You can't do anything if you're scared of somebody knocking on your door, Jason.
Well, I mean, we're going to have an interesting situation. I was just thinking then in a scenario, if somebody comes to your door, let's just say that the world goes even fucking crazier than it already is. God knows how it can, but you're in a scenario and there's somebody knocks on the door, and my wife goes to the door and says, "Who is it?" And she says, "It's." Sorry, and he says, "It's a bailiff. I'm after Jason Holmes." And she says, "Who? Jason Holmes. Is he in?" "Ah, there you go. I've got him. He's referred to me as he. That's illegal, and we'll send him to prison."
Hey, do you know what? That could actually be a remedy very soon if these idiots carry on the way they are. The stuff that they're doing, Jason, it's, there's a very, very, very big raft of evidence to show not only child abuse, pedophilia, but satanic ritual abuse. All this is quite evidence. People have come and given testimonies and hearings and everything on this stuff. And then to think that there's nothing going on and you're actually going to vote for these people because you think they're going to change something. Like a good friend of mine who thinks Jeremy Corbyn walks on water. He thinks he's going to save everything. And, it's... I don't know how you explain to people because there's no urgency yet. It's when there's urgent, people will do, won't they? People always rise when they're at the lowest. Either that or they get trampled on. Well, I know a lot of good men and women who will fight to the death for everything, and if you try and take stuff off them, they'll fight to the death. But when a corporation comes in, those strong people wilt because they don't know what to do. And then they'll go to a solicitor who is part of that system that will stitch you up to take as much equity as you can.
It's like them where this, what we called these debt consolidation, not consolidation, these debt places where what's one of them? And what they do is that what you think is they tell you is they're going to get you out of debt, but what they're trying to do is to keep you from going completely outside the system and saying fuck off, I'm not paying your owe, keeping you in and at least
getting a bit,
going and going and going, and then they form more contracts with you as well because I'm assuming you have to sign a load of shit. So it's the system's rigged, like George Carlin says.
It certainly is.
Huge club, and we're not in it. We're not in it. We're just not in it. We're in this club here. The bright, well, for now anyway, the bright yellow things until they start. It starts to be infiltrated by George Soros, and it ends up being anti-fascist people and Antifa with green vests on.
That's what I mean. That's when
they were there this weekend as well, Antifa, and they've all got the masks on. And nobody can be identified. They're all dressed in black, and yet they're against fascism. It's just weird.
It's not weird, mate, when you know that these people are coming from a duality position, that up is down, down is up. Everything is backwards, man. I've never been so disillusioned to look at how the media portray people and what they show as like role models for people these days. It's something that it seems to have crept in, and then all of a sudden they've ramped it up. You know, they're normalizing so much. If I don't know, I literally couldn't say what my dad would say if at 5-year-old, when I went to my local library where Roald Dahl was going to do a reading of James and the Giant Peach for my class, if that was read to me by a 6'4" transvestite drag queen, I'm not sure what my dad would have said about James and the Giant Peach, or what he may have done with James or the Giant Peach, because that is complete utter. Now people will say, "Oh, that should be tolerance." I don't understand about influencing children like that. You're trying to open children up to everything, because I do know that there's part of this agenda is to let children be treated as adults from a very early age, and those type of thoughts go right back to the Alfred Kinsey books. I don't know if you've ever read seen any of that material, Jason. It was the complete sexual history of man and woman, 2 separate books it was, and in that book it had an imperial table that showed that children 0 to 24 months were capable of orgasms in a day, because he was training paedophiles to take scientific measurements and do that. And they say, Jason, that those 2 books before the sexual revolution, in fact, they say that was the springboard for the sexual revolution that then came with the LSD in the 60s, that was all co-opted through the CIA. You said I was skeptical about the yellow jackets. I'm skeptic because I've seen so much of this stuff co-opted and then taken over. Something that can look so good, we could have real change, and then suddenly, hey, look, we've got peace. Well, what if there's a time of peace before everything really clamps down, before you've got microchips, before you've sold your soul, before you've gone? You know,
Yeah, but listen, with that sort of attitude, Webby, and I don't mean this with any disrespect, but with that sort of attitude, it's a wonder you ever got laid. Because, like, you know, you'd be like, well, is she just leading me on, or is she just doing this, or is she? You understand what I mean? You've got at some. I don't mean put your faith in something, but just to not just to use your instincts and be instinctive about something, rather than thinking, because we are naturally, because of what we've been exposed to, we've exposed ourselves to, we are naturally skeptical. So when something good comes along, how do we then identify that? You know, you can't just dismiss everything, because you might dismiss the thing that's going to get us out of this.
No, it's in the fruits, isn't it? It's in the fruit. You've got a good movement that started. Let's see where it goes. I can drive alongside somebody and decide whether to join them by smashing into them or pull over and get in their car, or I can drive alongside them saying, yeah, this is a good way to go. Oh, I'm disagreeing with that. Oh, I don't like that. Right, I'm off on my own. That's how I would holding it. Good movements. It's spreading across the country. People may be doing this organically, but this has always happened. Look at the poll tax riots. That happened organically. That changed things. That caused them. People don't understand what those poll tax riots did. That's why they changed it to the Local Government Finance Act, because they were taxing everybody. They know they'd gone too far with that. That's what changed it. People thought this was about fuel taxes in France. They've stopped the fuel tax, but it's not just about that, because you can see they're holding all kinds of signs up, Jace. They're holding about paedophile governments, all that. So these people are aware. But you can't just go, yeah, I'll give that some support. Like you said, I'll put it on for now. Yeah, I'll put it on for now. But I want to see the fruits of it. I've seen things, you know, people, but so many millions bought into the Obama for real change. Yeah, they really changed it. He bombed more fucking people than anybody.
Yeah, listen, I understand what you're saying. I do understand. We've had all the.
I understand the sex reference. They've done all right there, you know.
Sorry, the sex. It was just that I just thought that the skeptical. I understand that we've got to be skeptical, but until something, I'm not throwing my weight back. I've put this jacket on because because I got it in house, and I'd love to be stood with him and chanting and cheering and all that, because there seems to be a lot of different people with different agendas all coming together in a similar similar way. That was my point, is that yes, we've got to keep an eye on it and make sure that it don't get co-opted.
Yeah.
But also, we can't just dismiss everything as soon as it comes out because we've been burnt before.
No,
because then we become like the bitter woman or the bitter bloke that's
definitely not.
relationships and they've failed, and then that makes them a good relationship might come along and they just dismiss it, and they don't put everything into it because they've had bad experiences before. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to. All I want to do is I want what's best for everybody.
Yeah, I get that.
I want what's best for everybody, but I don't want us to miss an opportunity, because
look, people you can see how important it is, Jason, because Dave von Kleist says nobody in America knows what's going on. Look at our mainstream media. I've gone to the barbers and I've spoke to people locally. Nobody knew what was going on. So that's how much it has got this influence. Let's hope it, let's ride the wave, mate.
Oh, well, we're certainly doing that. Anyway, I think we've come to the end of our broadcast for this evening. We had a great hour, first of all, with Dave von Kleist, and second hour with myself and Webby, just chewing the fat as usual. I hope you enjoyed it. Tomorrow night we've got Colin Worrell on. Again, we've had him on before. I've posted, if you look on the on the event that I've posted on YouTube, there is a link to the previous interview that we had with Colin Worrell. I think it was we're on 232. I think he was 137, so he's 5 away from being 100 apart. So it's 95 shows since we've had Colin Worrell on, and we're going to have him on again tomorrow night. So check that out as well. Airy Cookie Monster's just gone live. I just got a notification, so pop yourself over there. I know Joan's live as well. Joan over on People's Internet Radio. Support People's Internet Radio. Support independent media. Support people like we. We just do this because we love it. We don't love it actually. We just like to vent our spleen and talk about things, and we hope that that you enjoy listening to us as much. Last word to you, Webby, before we set hurrah.
Well, if there's anything that you want to start making changes, is for me, which is like I'm trying to do, is local level. And that's not to take anything from the wonderful brothers and sisters who have gone down to London to do all the bits. We need everything that's coming, but this government needs to be localised, and you start at your local level. I know my council's corrupt. I need to change that. That's why I thought Colin would be a great guy to have on, because he's taken on that council because he knows how corrupt the councils are, and he wants to try and make a difference. He wants to make a difference for the people he loves. If you love your family and your friends, wouldn't you do anything you can to make their lives better?
You certainly would. Looking forward to that tomorrow night, Colin Worrell. So listen, thanks to everybody for listening. Thanks to everyone in the chat room. It's been a vibrant chat room again. Sorry we've not been able to read out a lot of the comments, most of the comments, because we don't really have much time. We are Andy. Andy used to be the guy that did all that sort of stuff, and we're still trying to adjust to him not being here. But hopefully he'll be here next week for one of the shows. Colin Worrell tomorrow night. Support Joan and Airy Cookie Monster. We'll see you tomorrow night, and be good. Don't do a racism.